Hail, hail, I'm here. My name is Suzanne Titkamar. If you didn't know, I'm sure most of you do. Um, I wrote for Pathos for almost 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering that covered the quiverful fundamentalist world. Okay, today I have somebody asked me about Britney Spears, my thoughts on Britney Spears. Hey, Cheryl. And I do have some thoughts on that. I also have some thoughts on true crime because one thing I have noticed here, and I was working on a book actually about a true crime that happened that I've since stopped working on. I'm going to use small parts of it in a book that I'm going to write about the children, teenagers who are being abused in these religious oriented troubled teen homes. I have no problem writing about that. I do have a problem with writing about true crime now. One of the writing groups that I've been a part of for some time, we're having a discussion about the ethics of true crime reporting, whether you're doing it for a platform like Pathos or you're doing it as your main thing on YouTube. There's a lot of really crazy ethical issues that surround that whole thing. If you write about true crime or you do these true crime podcasts, it was something I hadn't even thought about. They were talking about how when you do these things, you're actually making the people who are the victims' families, you're actually adding to their pain. And unless you take extensive notes, do extensive research, you're really doing the subject, you're doing it wrong. You're trivializing it. I got into it some months back with a true crime writer over the Carol Ann Cole case. If you know me, you know that I wrote a series of articles about the Carol Ann Cole case, like 23, 24 articles. And I'd taken those articles and expanded on them to write a book. That was my big thing. I was going to release this book on Carol Ann Cole, had it published, the whole 9 yards. Well, as I've been struggling with putting the book together to be the kind of book I want, and we've been going back and forth, I started discussing this in the writing group. And especially after my experience with the blogger the video blogger that actually blamed the crime on a dead man, that there's only scanty evidence he may have done it. You can't say with all certainty that he killed her. I've looked at the case too. I've done extensive research. I had two of those banker file boxes of nothing but printed out documents, documentation, everything on the case, and copious notes. I built 3 notebooks. Since, I'm a writer primarily, I do that before I talk about anything usually. This is one of the times I'm spitballing. I don't have notes because I'm talking about my own thoughts on this. These are all my thoughts and opinions, nobody else's. I'm not saying they're gospel truth. I'm saying they're my thoughts and opinions. So the Carol Ann Cole case, Carol Ann Cole died like 40 years ago. They found her body. Hey, Small Town Jewel, I got to cover that in a minute. He is better. I am worse. And it's some kind of virus. So the Carol Ann Cole case is a confusing one. It took place in the early 80s. Her body was found off a logging road in northern Louisiana. And when I first wrote about the case for Pathos, after talking to so many people, including family members of hers, talking to girls who had been at the New Bethany home for girls that she may have been at, and reading through all the documents, reading through just sheets of this stuff, including Mac Ford, the owner of New Bethany, reading through all the documents on his oil and gas leases that he had obtained as a friend of former Governor Edwin Edwards of Louisiana. After reading through everything, I came to the conclusion that while it was impossible to know who exactly killed her, for a variety of reasons, but mostly because whatever evidence there was destroyed in a fire, I said at the time I thought it was likely that it was someone connected to New Bethany. That's a possibility. And it needs to be said only as a possibility. Now, since going back over it and living, breathing, eating this while I was writing this book, I've come to the conclusion that she was likely killed having to do with sex trafficking. There were so many sex trafficking stories coming out of New Bethany and all of these troubled teen homes that at the time when I wrote the articles, I was not aware of the reach of sex trafficking in the U.S., how it's so incredibly everywhere. It's just everywhere. And I think that that's what may have been what happened to Carol Ann Cole. Now, the lady who does the true crime podcast did not say that these are possibilities. She jumped right to saying that John Chesson was the killer. John Chesson, who is now dead, who did find the body, who there's some suspicious things about him. I'm not saying he's 100%, 100% in the clear, but she made some aspersions. She made some claims about the knife that was used to kill Carol Ann, claimed it was the same knife that John Chesson used to kill his former mother-in-law, and she just grabbed the evidence and ran from there. There's no evidence supporting that. It's another supposition. I think personally, the idea that she was died as the result of some sort of sex trafficking pickup makes a lot more sense. But then again, this is one of those cases where there's so many things. I've declined to release a book for a couple of reasons. When I started doing all of this, it was before we started talking about this in our writers group. Heather, she is. I'm going to say she's misinformed, and she said conclusively that the knife that killed Carol Ann was the same knife that John Chesson used to kill his former mother-in-law, and there's no evidence of that at all. When Carol Ann was found, her body was in such a case of decomposition from having been out in the elements that there's no way they could even get enough accurate measurements of the wounds to be able to say with any certainty what kind of knife was used even. You have to look at the forensic evidence and go from there. And the forensic evidence is largely unrevealing. So that's why so many people have speculated what it is. But here's the thing. I know from talking to Carol Ann Cole's sister, Jeannie, that she wants the killer found. It's very unlikely because, like I said, unless someone confesses or someone dobs somebody at this point, because there's no evidence pointing to anybody after the evidence was destroyed. So you can't conclusively say who it is. I can say who it wasn't. It was not. It was not Henry Lee Lucas, who originally confessed to the crime, and the deputies in that particular part of Louisiana said, "Great, we'll take it. We'll take it. We'll convict you on this." Not, and it took a while before anybody realized he was actually in jail in Florida when Carol Ann Cole was killed. And unless he had a Star Trek um, beaming device, a transporter to beam to Carol Ann and kill her and then beam back into prison, it didn't happen. So I've spent some time talking to Jeannie, the sister, and I can see that all the speculation just adds to her pain. And that's one reason why I'm going to hold back this book. I'm probably not going to ever release it. I may use parts of it when I write about the kids at the troubled teen independent fundamentalist Baptist homes, because I believe that played a part in what happened to her and set her up for murder, whether the murderer was actually at the home or not. So I'm going to do that instead because I have no intention to add to Jeannie Phelps' pain. None at all. And I think that when people do these true crime broadcasts, they forget that there are real survivors who are harmed every single time, whether it just be they are made to feel bad or feel guilty or feel the pain all over again of the murder. And I don't think that benefits anyone. Hey, Tra. So I think that we could just not do those things. Well, at least I'm not going to. I'm not going to add to anybody else's pain on these things. Life is painful enough. There are enough shitty things that happen that we don't have to do that. Okay, somebody asked me about my health. I've been way better than my husband until yesterday. Yesterday, right about the time I got off here, I started working on this quilt I'm working for from my bed so I can get rid of that cheap Walmart thing. And I started making mistakes. I started feeling kind of fuzzy and muzzy in the head, and I started making stupid mistakes. When I made 4 mistakes in a half hour and had to use a seam ripper to take it apart, I was like, something is going on here. I am feeling really crappy all of a sudden. So I came out and I yelled at my husband and said, "Did this and this and this and this happen to you?" And he said, "Yes, exactly." So yesterday I spent some of the day, a large portion, right over there in the bed, reading, laying around, whatever, because I felt like crap. So it's the flu, it'll pass. I feel better today, thank goodness. And my husband has gone away today. He feels better enough where he has gone away for his thing. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need entertainment that doesn't respect the feelings of those who've been through this. You're right about that, Heather. So he's gone away today because he's working. When we first came to Costa Rica, he came at the behest of a small English school, school to teach English in the Central Valley of Costa Rica. The school was connected to the Peace Corps. There were Peace Corps volunteers there as well. He taught for 4 months there, and it was a wonderful experience. One of his students actually ended up going all the way to the nationals on the spelling bee, the English language spelling bee here in Costa Rica. So he was very proud of himself. A couple of months ago, he started teaching at an English school here, English language school, teaching high school kids again. And he loves that. That's something that even though he's retired, that he loves doing. The school just got a huge grant from the Costa Rican government to teach kids in Guanacaste, all over Guanacaste, English. So today he's going around with the director of the school and they're interviewing potential candidates because the government wants to get these kids and at the end have the ones that speak the best English go to the US on them. So it's a special program and he's similar to what he did in Copay. So that's what he's doing and he'll be doing all week. Not me. I am staying home today and I am doing laundry, laundry, laundry. I take every opportunity to do laundry when he's gone because he's not laying up in that bed taking a nap. So that is my task for today. Somebody asked me the other day what I thought about Britney Spears and the Britney Spears situation. It's kind of funny because I'm from the same part of the world that Britney is. Most of my family is from Tangipahoa Parish in Louisiana, which is like Hammond. Wait a minute. I don't know if Hammond is. Wait a minute. Okay. I am very confused. Tangipahoa is not a parish. It's Amy Parish. They're all in. They're from Hammond, Ponchatoula, Mandeville, that area. I believe that Brittany is from north of there. So it gives me some kind of idea about her background, how she was raised, and her family. And it's kind of funny because one of the things that I did at a job that I had to take when I had lost my job working at a clinic for having an asthma attack, yes, that happened. I went to work for an international florist where you call in, you get orders and stuff. And I worked on the division where I dealt with customer service calls and I talked to the florist. I was trying to get arrangements filled. So anyway, long story short, it was kind of funny. One day I called florists in the Hammond area and was told, no, they're all busy with the Spears wedding. So twice I've had that experience for a wedding with Brittany's brother when he got married and when Brittany's sister got married. So I've always said we've had some intertwinement that seems just kind of weird, okay? Like karma is doing crazy stuff. When Britney came on the scene, um, I never dreamed she was going to be so huge. I kind of like her music. I have her CD Circus, and I used to play that thing on repeat. I loved it. It was a gift for my husband and my kids one Christmas. And frankly, I've been rooting for Britney for years to make it and to be healthy and happy and to have the life she wants. So, hearing all this about what Jamie has done to her through this conservatorship just breaks my heart. More than anything, I am hoping that Britney can take control of her life again. Having a mental illness does not mean that she shouldn't have some control over her own life or body, make decisions for herself. If she is medicated and she's doing well, there is no reason in this world that she shouldn't be allowed to have her own life and live it and lead it the way she wants, rather than have Jamie signing contracts committing her to this performance and that performance. Yes, Amanda, I'm hoping they'll have to pay restitution for using her as well. That would be the best. That would really be the best. Now, whether Brittany's capable or not of living on her own and leading her own life, we don't know that. But I think she needs to be given the chance. I watched all of Emily Debaker's content on the hearings, and she that was a disturbing thing to me. If you're a child, okay, the most disturbing thing is that she had no control of anything. When you're a child in the system, the court will appoint a guardian ad litem to control, to protect your rights and to do what's best for you. The guardian ad litem has no connection to you. They are completely a stranger to you. And they are appointed to protect all of your rights, to make sure no one exploits you in any way, shape, or form in those legal proceedings or in your life. Because when you're an adult and they do that, they give you a conservatorship or they put control over you like that, they don't do that. They don't appoint anyone to protect your assets in most states, to protect what's best for you. And I really think for Britney, the key is going to be letting her have her freedom, but maybe having someone in place who is completely unconnected to all of it that she can consult with, that's going to help her in court, the whole yards. She needs to be able to live her own life on her terms. Yes, Amanda, she does. Hey, Bliss, I just saw you in BXB's Boys chat. Yeah, so I'm thinking that poor Brittany needs to be given a chance to live her life on her own. If she screws up again and they decide she needs a conservator, hopefully it won't be her father or any of the other exploitive people that have been in her life. And she has been surrounded by exploitive people for many years. I mean, look back at the reality show she did with her then husband, Kevin Federline. He was just another user that used her, it looked like to me from where I was sitting. And she seems to attract that type. There are a lot of people in her life that have used her. I was really shocked when they gave the total dollar amount of her worth. I was expecting it to be higher than that. So it tells me somebody maybe mismanaged her money as well. And the people that have used, exploited her, and mismanaged, I'd like to see all of them have to pay up to give her back what they took from her. That would really be the best of all. Yes, somebody who's on her side, not someone who's dictating her every move. I know conservatorship and disabled exploitation is real. Emily Chambers, disability is diversity, invisible disabilities are real. Emily, you don't have to tell me that because I have mast cell. And now apparently I have problems with my thalamus, which I didn't even know I had. Apparently it was throwing clots. I have to use a cane to walk now because I was misdiagnosed when I had my thalamic stroke, and I didn't realize I had a thalamic stroke in utero. Both of those things make me disabled now. And navigating the world of being disabled is really, really hard. I mean, just simple things like getting around an airport. I can walk with this. I'm balanced because my balance is just completely shot. Balancing and walking on a slick airport floor is more than I can handle. I have to be toted with a wheelchair. And like I said, this trip when I'm back to the States was a hot mess because of that. So I'm hoping my next trip back to the States in just 5 weeks won't be that bad. I'm going using a different airline. I am flying to different airports. So fingers crossed my disability requests get met this time. Her people have spent her whole entire fortune. Amanda, I believe that. When they said how much she was worth, I was like, no, how could you be working every day in Vegas and have that low of it's like her perfumes. Yes, you're right. Her perfumes. Perfume is $1 billion industry alone. I agree. I agree. Somebody's been taking her money. I don't think conservatorship should ever be a family member, honestly. Maybe in a situation where some is severely physically, mentally disabled, and some, like Britney's situation, should never be family. I agree. Should have never been her father or her mother. Emily, yes, that's why I keep talking. I want to amplify for others. Invisible disabilities exist. They exist hard. Like I said, I have it. And I was just finished writing up what happened when I left my old church, Tamarindo Church, after they fired the pastor and they suddenly decided the dogs were A-okay, even though I have dog allergies. And I hate that because I love dogs. Dogs are wonderful creatures. But it seems to be mostly long-haired dogs that I react to. So I was just writing about that. I'm going to publish it on John O. Pierce's A Tippling Philosopher. Even though I'm no longer writing for Pathos every day, I published with him. I have published with other places. And I've even published under other names for some of the more controversial things that I've said about mental health and the internet. So there's that. Yes, Small Town Jewel, he is, and I'm glad because if worse comes to worse, he could push me. He would moan about it, but he could do it. He could do it. Yesterday was a particularly bad day for my disability because once the flu hit and I was feeling super sick, one of the things that happened was he was in here sleeping and I heard his phone go off in the living room and I went to get up from my chair in my sewing room because I was sewing and I overbalanced and I fell on the floor. I didn't get his phone. It wasn't good. And what happened was I had to say, hey, come help me up in here. And it was like the second or third time I'd fallen. The other times I'd gotten myself up. So when I'm sick with something else, it messes with the balance even more. So that poor man had to help me get up off of the floor. So I feel bad for him because he's had to do some things since this happened with the balance that he normally would not do. Last night he had to mop the floor in the kitchen. I can't do it. I can't mop. I can't sweep. I mean, mopping I can sort of do because if I have the Swiffer or I'm leaning on the mop, but sweeping is a no-go because it's impossible to sweep and hang on to the cane, and just the action of standing and doing like that will cause you to fall down. So I'm going to keep screaming out about invisible disabilities and about disabilities in general. You're going to always see me make content on that because I think that's something that most people don't think about. I know before I became disabled, I had no idea about some of this stuff. No idea at all. It is very hard, Small Town Jewel, when you don't have balance. And when I become ill with a cold or this flu or whatever, it makes the balance worse. I have good days, I have bad days. I have days so good that I've run to the grocery store and forgotten my cane because I'm walking so well, walking and balancing so well that it's not a big deal. But then again, I have those days where I get up and I'm wobbly, wobbly, wobbly. Like the dad was going through the airport and I had the 5 hour layover. Very wobbly day. Very wobbly day. And that was 2 days after I'd had my COVID vaccination. So I'm pretty pissed off with the church in general now. I would say that I'm kind of borderline agnostic. I'm not all the way there, but I don't believe that the way that the evangelical churches believe is maybe not even the way that it is, because they're certainly not following the Bible or the words of Jesus much, which kind of blows my mind because here, I don't know about where you guys are, here they refuse to mask in churches, and there is a law here saying that you must mask in churches. Anytime you're in a big group, you've got a mask here. Anytime you are in a building, you must mask. The only time you're exempt from masking is if you're in your own home. I mean, they're even saying they want you to mask up if you're walking and there are people nearby. And I do that. I'm going to continue to do that. But in our church, the new church we go to, the old church we went to, the church we visited, not a soul masked. And where this became problematic was the pastor of the new church announced last Monday that he, his wife, and others had COVID from church. They had just been diagnosed. Here, to get a diagnosis of COVID, you have to take a PCR test, which is different than the antigen test. The PCR test, you can't really get it. You can't get the results in less than 24 hours here. You just can't. I don't know why, but that seems to be the thing. They're going to require 24 hours stretch. If you have it done on a Saturday or Sunday, it can take even longer because there aren't that many labs that are doing the test. They're running the tests. And Tamarindo is not that big of an area. So for him to have positive results at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, he would have had to taken that test on a Saturday or early Sunday. So when he went to church on Sunday, he likely knew he may have had COVID and he exposed everybody else. I told my husband, I am completely done with church as a result. I am not going back until COVID is dead, until there's no risk. There are too many variants out there. There's all these new ones coming, and I'm seeing them been named, and they're not, the vaccines are not taking care of that. They're not covering that at all. And people are getting sick, people are dying. So I'm done with church for now, just because they've turned it into a physically unsafe space, which I do not understand doing that because it seems like it runs counter to the message of Jesus, all this vaccine denial, all this denial that the virus is real, this saying, oh, I'm not going to mask because I don't think the virus is real. All of that runs so completely contrary to the message of Jesus. I just can't get over it. I just can't get over it. I do believe there's a God, and I do believe that in Jesus. But I think the reality is way different than anything that's being preached right now in many churches. One of the churches that we visited gave a sermon that just about caused me to run out the door. It was how to judge who's a Christian and who isn't a Christian. Why would you give a sermon like that? You're supposed to be uplifting people, exhorting them to be better, not telling them they can be as judgmental as they want to be. EDS warrior, 3-time stroke survivor. I see you all. Oh, Gardy Lou, I'm so sorry. I guess it's been 3 for me. 1 in utero and 1 3 years ago, and then 1 6 months. I know that Bliss. I know who you're talking about exactly with the teen mom. That girl's a hot mess. She's the only one that I even know who she is on Teen Mom, and only because my daughter watches Teen Mom and has talked about her a few times to me. And I had to go and take a look. It's like, oh my word, that girl is a hot mess. I don't think that's going to end well at all. And so many people are like that. So this pastor, everybody in his family now has COVID. She also reminds me of a without a box of Kleenex Bliss. She just does because it's all about her wants, her needs. She doesn't know anything about sacrificing, doing for others. which blows my mind because when you're a mother, you must sacrifice for the good of your children sometimes. It's just part of the job description. There are times when you have to put what you're thinking, feeling, and needing aside for the good of your child. And she does not do that ever. It's all about her. And as a result, that girl hasn't always had custody of her children either. So there's that. So I'm rambling now. Where was I? Back. Yeah. Amanda, I may be going back to the Catholic world too. I was raised Catholic. And I actually like the Catholic Church in some ways. I don't like their stance on abortion and birth control, obviously, but everything else, I think that they have a better idea than a lot of these other churches. The evangelical world is so screwed up right now. I'm just going to come right out and say it. It's awful. When you have people like Lori Alexander who are constantly spewing out stuff that's the opposite of the words of Jesus, you've really strayed far. Yes, Small Town Jewel, I do accept emails. My email box is suzanne.callulu@gmail.com. I'll put it here for you, okay? I do accept emails. That's my public box. I was going to shut it down but I've not done that. I've kept it. Bliss, when you have issues with all three of your baby daddies, maybe you think you'd have to change something about yourself. Exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness, Bliss. I'm not saying they're perfect. Definitely not. But I don't think any church is perfect right now. So I'm going to do home church. I'm staying home. I'm staying safe. I'm staying away from everybody. I told my husband he's free to go back to that church if he likes, but I'm not going until COVID is gone. And it's a shame because I do have friends there. One of my closest friends here lives down the street. She goes there and she runs the worship team. And I thought about joining because that's what I've done. I've been on worship teams all over the place, and I like singing. I'm not bad at it, so there's that. And I have noticed since she's been on vacation in the States, everybody who sings there is off key. And that's not so good. Not so good at all. So there's that. So I've got to say, in this time of COVID, I'm just really, really disappointed right now that so many evangelicals, churches, and members refuse to accept science and refuse to do the things that protect people. That's just mind-boggling. And it just blows my mind how selfish we've become in our society in general, I think. And I think that's what's driving a lot of problems. I'm not saying that you have to 100% be a doormat and always say yes, because obviously that leads to problems too. And I've had problems with that. But if you know your own strengths, you know where your boundaries are, you protect your boundaries, and you do things to benefit other people that don't do you and make you not go out of your way at all, like wearing a mask. I think that's good. I don't know how many people have that I've talked to here that say they're not doing that because they will spout out all the lies that have been debunked about masking, like their oxygen level tanks or they feel like they can't breathe, all of that. It's very cult-like. You're right. We can explain a lot of things with science nowadays that couldn't back in the day. Religion, I think, needs to keep up with the times. Absolutely. Have you seen the crazy pastor in Tennessee says, kick out anyone who comes to this church? Yes, I have. That guy's a nutcase. And I mean like Steven Anderson level nutcase. No, I understand what you're saying, Bliss. But the thing is, I was going to say, even Steven Anderson and his whole family, they had COVID and they had it bad. And I've not seen him say anything against masking since. So I guess it's going to continue to kill off the evangelical world. My understanding is we're in the third or fourth wave of this thing, and it's going up. I'm a little afraid for my trip in September, not because I'm afraid of catching COVID, because I'm going from the airport to my kids' house, and my kids have been very good about being vaccinated and taking every precaution. I'm afraid because you're put on a plane with all those people, you're squashed in. It's a flying tin can, it's a flying bus. Not everybody takes the right precautions. They don't sanitize their hands, even though the airlines are literally handing you sanitizing wipes as you get on and off the plane and as you're eating your snack and all of that. They're doing what they have to do. And I'm wondering if we're about to go into another lockdown. I don't think Costa Rica will because they want the tourist dollars. But the U.S. may go into another lockdown from everything I'm seeing. The rates are scary high. People are dying. This thing's not going to go away until everybody does what they're supposed to do to lessen the amounts. The ultimate goal is herd immunity, but I think we've opened it way back to say. Amanda agreed. Here, they close the borders from right around mid-March because they closed the borders the day after I went and did a border run so I could keep my driver's license valid, because they did not extend driver's licenses for a couple of weeks. And your driver's license here is only valid as long as your passport is valid. So, okay, Bliss, you have a great day. Lazy Mom Day. Get Happy Meals for the kids for lunch. If you could healthily deconstruct a Happy Meal for me, that would be great. Bliss, I'm thinking about doing something on food once a week because I see these crazy recipes put people together. I'm like, what? You did all that with processed food when you could have done it for a fraction of the cost if you'd have just used real food and been healthier and better for you. So I'm thinking about that. I think I need to talk to Ren about that because I know he does food. I meant to do the food thing last night, but man, I was snoozing in the bed, was fighting off this flu. And today is going to be a quilt and do laundry day for me. Speaking of which, I need to go. I can feel my voice starting to go. And all these vacation spots are hotbeds right now. It's scary. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Amanda. Here they reopened in November. We were closed from mid-March until November. I think it might have been mid-November when they reopened to tourism. And we've had nothing but tourists since. And the rates keep climbing. Costa Rica does not make you prove that you've had the vaccination or a recent test. They just let you come on in. You just got to fill out your passe de salud, agreeing that if you develop the symptoms, that you will quarantine and do the whole 9 yards. And they require you to carry a special kind of health insurance that covers COVID. Now, happily, they've lifted that for all of us that are vaccinated. That was one of the things driving me going back to the States to be vaccinated. I no longer have to pay this incredibly expensive insurance. It could be like $1,000, that stupid insurance. And it's ridiculous because I own a house here and my health insurance covers me 100% here. So I would not be out any money whatsoever if I didn't buy that health insurance. But you know how it is with bureaucracy. Oh my goodness. They've raised restrictions. Bliss, I'm sorry. I hope she recovers well and doesn't catch anything. Here they've suspended all elective surgeries. Unless you're going to one of the plastic surgery clinics, they're popular with gringos here. Those are still functioning, but as far as like going and having surgery, like example, I have a gallstone. If I were to say, hey, I want my gallbladder removed because I'm having pain from this thing, which I'm not, they couldn't do it unless it was life-threatening. If it was life-threatening, I could go in and have the surgery. But if it's not life-threatening, I'm out of luck. And so is everybody else here. So I'm glad my husband doesn't have to have any further pins pulled out of his shoulder. And I guess what I'm saying is we all just need to do what we can and avoid any evangelicals that are saying, no mask. Masking is like wearing being forced to wear a swastika or whatever. It's ridiculous. Bliss, I hope it fixes everything. I really do. I hope so, and I hope that everything works out well for her and she heals well. Nobody catches anything at the hospital because that's always a possibility too. And I'm not even talking about COVID. So there's that. But she'll be tube free. Oh, goodness. Kidney tubes connected to IV bags since January. Bliss, that's a drag. My husband only has one kidney. He had kidney cancer, and he had a spell of some time where he got a very bad kidney stone that completely blocked the one kidney. And they had to drill through the side of his body and run a tube from the kidney to like a catheter or IV bag and drain his urine. And he was like that for 3 or 4 months. I think I remember. He was that way for a long time, and it was not good. It was not pleasant. It was not fun. He had to wear like sweatpants, couldn't have anything on that was very constricting. So Bliss, I'm hoping that this makes her life far less complicated and it works because I know what it's like. It ain't no fun. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go. It's been 40 minutes. That's like probably 35 minutes longer than I should talk. Have a good day. Just have a good day. Try to stay healthy. Wash your hands. Stay 6 feet away. As many kidney stones out of someone. Only one doctor in the state of Maryland would even touch her. Oh, Bliss. Well, hopefully this cures her. I hope so. See you guys later.